this year for the This Old House series. It's being done in conjunction with the Whatcom County Library System and the Point Roberts Historical Society. I'm Chris Lemedico. I'm the manager at the library here. If you've got an old story and you have an old house, just get in touch with us over the winter, because we'll be needing something if this program continues next year. What's I going to say? This is the last one, and it's going to be about Ben's store, and it's a pretty good subject because everybody just about remembers Ben's store. Who does not? Oh, there's a few newcomers. It was almost synonymous with going to Point Roberts. And you're going to be stopping at the store for gas and stopping for supplies. And it was just a phenomenon for so many years. We thought it would never disappear. So this is its story. This, as you know, Point Roberts here was settled by pioneers from Iceland and England and Scotland and China, and a few probably from other spots, Ireland. And when the land was given to the people who'd come here, it had been a military reserve, and then the land they were sitting on was deeded to them. So they felt more secure. They had fishing in the summer. There was 3 active canneries, and like Boundary Bay over there on that picture on the wall, that was a huge thing. People had been coming to Boundary Bay and camping for years on end before that, so it needed a store. And one of the residents who was born here, Runa Thorstenson, she met a young man who'd come over from Iceland. He'd been to New York, he was in Minnesota, and he was just kind of seeing how things were, but when he came to Point Roberts and fell in love with Runa, that was it. That was Ben and Runa Thorderson. There they are. This is their picture. This is their engagement picture. And you can all come up and look at them later.
What year, Chris?
I'm not sure, 1917 or some such. Maybe, I'm just guessing.
It is.
Their daughter, Margaret, wrote a beautiful story about growing up on Point Roberts, and it's available in the library. It's called The Story of Ben's Daughter, Margaret Thorderson Cragness. And Shannon Thompson helped her write this book, and I'm going to be quoting a lot from it. This is a picture of Ben and Runa standing in front of the store in the early days. I think that's 1936. And their house was right next door. The house is still there. When you go out to the end of this Gulf Road, you'll see USA Gas, and then there's a green house. That was their homestead. And Runa, while she lived in it, she was a marvelous, marvelous gardener and competed fiercely with the Canadian ladies and other Americans here for trophies in Garden Club, or the Evergreen Garden Club in Ladner and Tawasin. So it was a beautiful place. So they met, married, and had 3 children. The kids helped with the store. Their dad had worked for the cannery, George and Barker, as their bookkeeper and stocker person. And he was ready to handle a store. Money was lent to them, and I have I can't remember from whom, but it is written in there to start the store. So
Siggy.
Siggy, that's right. This is Christine, by the way, and she is a direct descendant of Runa and Ben.
Granddaughter.
Granddaughter, yeah. And everybody else who knows something are all here to fill in where I don't know.
And these are our great-grand.
Great-grand, okay.
Two of them. 2 to 14.
Beautiful, good to see you. You're so welcome here. So, it was typically the old country store. You could get all your groceries there. And for a while, the gasoline and the groceries would come by boat. The boat was named the Tulip, and it came to Point Roberts once or twice a week with the mail and these supplies. And they had a lot of worries about whether there'd be enough gas during the week, you know, between trips. And then Dottie Iverson opened a service down here at the foot of Gulf Road, where oil was shipped directly from a boat to tanks that he had there, and after that, running out of gas wasn't an issue for them. And that was way before the days when people had to come down for cheap gas. It was just that you were this far away from everywhere else. Vancouver was a good hour and a half away by ferry. Bellingham was a good 2 hours away by car. And so this was where you got everything. And it was the go-to destination when people came in to come down to their summer cabins. They would stop at Ben's store, the kids would get a free candy bar, and they'd stock up on supplies. And it was, for a long time, the only store. So it was, it's always going to, your people always coming here. And Runa also grew up to be one of the historical photographer at Point Roberts. Many of the old-time pictures that you see of Point Roberts were taken by Runa. And she got her first camera when she was about 12, and she never stopped taking pictures. And thanks to her, we have some beautiful memories of places that no longer exist here. Then Ben, he ran the store very generously. Work was often seasonal, with people going fishing in the summer, and so they needed to be carried over until the end of the summer, and he was, very generous with credit. And if you had run on hard times, he was even more generous and would actually perhaps go out with a bag of groceries, make sure you were well set up, and bring them to you. So he was well thought of here. Point Roberts Auto Freight began bringing groceries in the 1930s. That's how old Point Roberts Auto Freight is. Yeah, just that would be another old story to tell. And Ben always wore a green glass visor when he was at his store. People remember that. That was his uniform. They had receipts. This is one of the receipts. Actually, on the back of every receipt was written, "To our customers, you need your money and I need mine. If we both get ours, it will sure be fine. But if I get yours and hold mine too, what in the world am I going to do? Think it over." Ben led the way for the family by being an outgoing personality and friendly to everyone. He had a reputation for fairness and helping people. One example of helping people was when a destitute couple who had walked from Blaine to the Point came into the store. He knew that Anger and Agnes Sand had recently moved out of a house on the west end of Benson Road. Ben got permission to take the couple there and then gave them 2 bags of groceries. He included a pouch of tobacco because he saw an empty pipe in the man's front overall pocket. When the welfare officer came up from Bellingham to talk to Ben, they were first on his list of people needing help. Ben also had a no-nonsense reputation. If anyone came to the store after too long of a stay at the Breakers, no, not what the Breakers was, right?
Yeah.
Huge local tavern, they were soon on their way. When Ben was working on the cannery tender, someone challenged him to a fight. The challenger was soon on his back. He did not know that when Ben was a young man in Iceland, he was winning championships for the Icelandic national wrestling team. So, this was, there are more pictures of Ben and Runa and their family, and their children, and memoirs of people who lived here, and there's the 3 kids when they were little. Helgi with a scowl on his face.
Always.
Hilda and Margaret who wrote the book. Yeah, so nice pictures and a very nice memoir. And of course, Luna's father was one of the first, and mother were the very first pioneers probably to come here. There's a picture of them here, probably before or when the kids were being just very little. Dagbjort and Helgi. And there's still Helgi's around, I can tell you. Popular name. Over the years, various artists have depicted the Ben's store, because we've got this one that Kitty Doyle did and is available in her gallery. She also did this one. This belongs to Carol Julius Weiner. And there's this one. We'll get to that. And I think Wayne Sayer did a very picturesque one as well. So it was well known. In 1952, the Thordersons had tried to persuade their children to buy the business, but they were scattered far and wide in Minnesota, in Seattle, and it just was not feasible. So they rented it for a time to Ken and Irene Waters, and this is one of the receipts that they used. Then after that, it was bought by Carl and Irene Julius. Carl, his parents came here from Iceland as well. And if you've ever been driving around on the Dyke Road, what they used to call the Dyke Road, and is now Edwards Drive, you will see their house. And on a beautiful summer day, this is what it looks like. Carol's the last one.
It's the last one before the park, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the last house before the park. And the only house that's never been really flooded in flooding times. The water's come up to the door, but it hasn't come into the house. So just that little bit of high ground that has protected them. And this is a picture of Carl and Irene. This is their 50th wedding anniversary. I was talking to Carol, their daughter, yesterday. She said they owned the store for about 15 years. And this is a good picture of their 3 children. Carol, who's now Carol Weiner, Jim, who owns Julius Realty down the road here, and Shirley, who is my age, and we'll be celebrating our 60th, oh God, it can't be that, school reunion soon. Must be 50th, right? 1966. So anyway, that's their family, and if you want to come and look at pictures of them, I have some more. One day we will just do story on their house and their family. After the Juliuses ran it for a long time, and they were also generous in their with having people on credit, the locals for sure. As a child, I think every child ran to that place and looked for the candies. Saved all your pennies and went and bought, at least $1's worth if you had it, or at least a nickel's worth if not. It was very, very popular. Shirley and I would walk from that house across a terribly decayed bridge over the slough, which was called the dike, and then across a couple of pastures with cows in, and up the road to the house, up to the road to the store, and look for goodies there. And as with Ben and Runa, the Julius children, I think, all worked in the store too, while they could. Shirley and Carol for sure. And Carol worked there for years and years. After the Julius family sold it, they sold it to a high school principal his first name was Vern, I didn't get his last name, in Richmond. And he went into partnership with Bert and Flo Gladue, who ran the store for a few years. After that, it went to the hands of Joe and Lillian Fiore, and their children used to run TJ's, if you remember that. After that, Joe and Marie Hammer owned the store. And by this time, there was extra parts to the store. It was called Ben's Department Store. And I think in the days of the Juliuses, there was, clothing as well that you could get there. And Curly Burns worked there. She was fierce. Watched like a hawk, everything going out. More penny candies being taken on her watch. Anyway.
There's lumber too.
Yeah, they had lumber. They were the go-to place. That's where you went. When I came back here in '84, I worked there for a while. There was a fish and chip shop at the back. And after that, it was one of the UPS stringer stores, and that's when I worked there. For maybe 3-4 years before the UPS building moved to Auntie Pano's. So it had a lot. Then tragedy struck. One of our residents, who will not be mentioned, was driving up the road late at night, and instead of stopping at that stop sign, did what we all had feared would happen one day, put her foot on the gas instead of the brake, and drove right into the store, past the gas pumps. And when I took my daughter to school the next day to catch the bus, or up the road to catch the bus, she said, "Mom, we have to stop. I have to go see." She went inside, she said, "Mom, it's right up to the candy bar." So then this picture comes in, and it says sale, 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 sale. It was also done by Kitty Doyle, and it's available at her gallery. Now after that, and the time that the store the property was sold entirely and became USA Gas, I really don't know what happened there. Wasn't paying attention, but if anybody else was, that would be good to know. So,
What year was that?
I would say that would have been in the mid-1990s. So if you have any memories that you want to tell and that I have left out, it would be wonderful to hear them now. What have I not said, Christine?
Here's a picture of the store after it was run into.
Oh my goodness.
Sad.
Wow.
Sad.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And, yeah. What's your favorite memory of the Ben store that you who knew it well?
Buying candy.
buying candy. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a great place. You could buy bait there in the end if you were fishing. And they really had no competition except in the summertime, Maple Beach store was open in Boundary Bay, and South Beach store was open for the South Beach houses.
Clark's is also open.
And Clark's, yeah. Those are just summertime stores, though. So,
Ben only closed the store on 4th of July and Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
And it was open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And so there'd be often people would come to his back door before it opened because they wanted something. It was really annoying to Runa that people wanted the store open before 8 a.m. And they ended up getting this big dog. I'm not sure if it was German Shepherd or
Strongheart.
Strongheart was his name. And they had it chained to the garage, and so that kept people from coming back. But on the 4th of July, I have a picture, I was going to send it. Every 4th of July, there was one of his grandchildren, or at least one, more of us, were there for him to raise the flag, the American flag, on the 4th of July. And that was really a thing to go out with Grandpa when he raised that flag. And yeah, he did that faithfully. And then Runa sold, she had probably close to 100 blueberry bushes, Sylvia, I don't know. And she would sell her blueberries at the store too. And the people that bought the property now, they let me in a year ago on the 4th with a couple of my kids, and we got to see all the renovation. It was beautiful, the renovation. Some of it broke my heart because I like the old style with all the wood. They did keep the banister going upstairs, but the grounds look horrible now. Hers were beautiful.
She had a big fish pond out front.
Yeah, and we used to take her rhododendron leaves, my sister and I, and we'd turn them upside down and made little gondola boats from Venice, and we put grasshoppers in them, but they would jump before we get them on the water, so we pulled their legs off. And they had a huge vegetable garden, but us girls hated to go get vegetables because there were so many snakes in their garden, especially around the rhubarb. And so it wasn't long after that, with all the snakes appearing, that all the cousins, my cousins that were boys as well as my brother, they all were armed with BB guns. And they would comb the garden and try to get as many snakes as they could before we would get our vegetables. But and they were just totally merciless for those snakes. But and they'd hang them up on the clothesline. They were horrible. And yeah, the candy was a big thing. I got my first pair of Levi's at Ben's store. They never fit, but I still was proud of them.
They didn't have too many choices.
But we did not get free candy, as old people thought we did because we were grandchildren. We still paid for it. But I think we got a discount. And Grandpa would sometimes have free candy, whether when he came out, hand it to us. But yeah, Helgi, my dad, he was mostly working on the farm and the animals. And they had a lot of animals. The first ones to go were the pigs. It's hard to separate the house from the store because there's so much activity going on between the two. Of all the grandchildren, I was a sickling. I got asthma every time I came up. And then when I go back to Seattle, I'd miss school for 3 days, just trying to recover. And back then they didn't have any medications for asthma. After all those years, they found out it was the feathers I was allergic to. And Grandma's attic, she had feather pillows, and I was allergic to feathers.
Oh.
I wish they would have found that sooner.
Yeah.
But, and then she built that cabin down on the beach.
She did.
She belonged to Bird Club, Garden Club. And a lot of people don't know how humble Grandma Runa was. She had people come with tripods from all over the country to take pictures of her prized roses out in front. And they came from all different provinces in Canada too. And it would be really impressive for us. As kids now they call it photobombing. We like to go out and get the pictures. And they would take all these pictures And, yeah, and what was I going to say about it? She made beautiful flower arrangements, not just with her garden, but her arrangements. And she took the Hudson Bay trophy, it's one of the most coveted trophies, and after she passed away, we found it under her bed. She never displayed her winnings like that, and that always got to me, that she's so humble that way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
She was a very kind woman.
yeah.
She and my grandmother belonged to the same garden club, and there was a cut crystal bowl on a pedestal that was passed around, and it was either Runa or my grandmother, Mae Dennison, or Anna Baker, or Mrs. Winskull, Molly Winskull, and those names are on that thing over and over and over again. I believe it's in the archives in Wadner, in their museum.
And she was one of the main photographers here on the Point, and some of her postcards have been reproduced, but you'll see I think there might be others that are printed, but a lot of her printing you can see it all the same. And she had her dark room in the basement, and about 7 years ago, the owners of the house let me go in the basement. Everyone was afraid to go in the basement because it was all full of cobwebs, and I don't know why it was cleared out. But I went down there with Joni, and we found interesting things. And I got my grandmother's tray that she would do negatives in, and it means a lot to me, you know.
Yeah.
And she'd have a clothesline across it to hang out her pictures. And she had glass slides. Bunny knows that too, because Bunny got all these pictures.
Those were her glass slides, Christine?
She had some glass slides too, didn't she?
Well, we had some, but we weren't sure whether Luna had done them or Mrs. Marion.
Oh, okay.
So we still don't know.
Yeah. But, and I'm still coming across pictures I had never seen of Grandma before when she was younger. But someone wrote me just this last week and said, those kids that graduated from this school here, no, they're a lot older. No, they were big farm kids. Margaret was 5'10" at 14 years old. And good sized kids.
They were grown more. They ate well. Good genes and good
But
food.
Sylvia has some good stories about Ben's store. My cousin Sylvia. Don't you, Sylvia?
What have you got to say, Sylvia?
When we were walking home from school, or riding our bikes home from school, because I lived by Crystal Beach, we would hope that the gas tanks would be empty at the store so we could pump them up, because he would reward us with, was it ice cream or a golf sucker, that he remembers. So sometimes we'd race each other to the store to be the first one to run all the way up. Yeah, to make sure we were the first ones there to pump up the gas tanks. None of you have probably ever seen a gas tank like that, but they were like a cylinder about this high, and they had a hand pump. And what other memories? Oh, I just remember that was the only telephone on Point Robertson. So Ben and Rena had to take the responsibility of getting messages for people that they would have to deliver on Point Roberts, or sometimes they'd have to go pick the person up and ring the store to call back whoever wanted to talk to them. That was our telephone communication with the outside world. So it had to be pretty much of an emergency before I used that phone. And sometimes it was a hard message that they had to deliver. It got so Ben didn't want to do it anymore because it was so hard emotionally to have to go tell someone that someone died or something. Sure. So Runa had to learn to drive. She was in her 50s. She learned to drive so she could deliver these messages. Yeah, didn't have to.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, the other part that led to the demise of Ben's store was the building of Marketplace, and then all the gas
prices going very high in Canada and being very cheap in the States. And almost immediately 5 gas stations were built in Point Roberts. And they were, most of them also convenience stores. And at least 2 of them are to this day, where you can get something to drink, some milk, whatever. So it wasn't the only game in town, and of course there was a lot more choice in the big store. So, yeah. So I want to thank everybody who's contributed this summer. Without Bennett's help, none of this would be on video and available on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and put in Point Roberts, this old house, you'll get all the talks that were given this year, and he's working on the ones from last year. So if you missed one, you can find it there, and we're really grateful. It's been a great thing, and it's been good for the community. And we just are ready for a lot more stories from people. We've had from Boundary Bay this year with Valerie Remedios. And last year we had Michelle Whalen, who was one of her dad and mom, and her grandfather. Her grandfather, as you know, had a lot to do with the building of Point Roberts. So if you've got a story, bring it to us, and we will do our best to do good by that. And so take a look at the pictures. We are more than glad to have it. Thank you very much.